My talk is about protocol identity. And I try to define protocol identity for Iranian national identity, what I meant integrational in Iranian identity. That is a little bit different. So it means that basically and critically, I am in disagreement and critical of the concept of identity because it says something outside of the genuine self. The second is creative part or component of my talk, which is protocol identity. I use protocol to show that integrational national identity, both at citizen level, individual level, and at collective level. This concept I found to be flexible because due to the existential change, any moment of the life of any individual is different than any moment before. So the word identity or the concept of identity is not showing that. And so parallel to or equivalent to the concept of discourse, I created the context of existential, which is this one. It means that any moment, any individual is changing contextually. So it's different. Despite all these differences that we have through the history, but one thing was permanent, and that was the Irfan, which made the Iranian approach or Iranian perspective different than the Western or Indian or Chinese perspective. This perspective is, as I say, is integrational. That integrational is any moment, any individual, or any group of people are existentially changing, and they try to manifest their becoming genuine self, which is defined any moment. It is defined any moment and manifested through different plural identities, windows. That is what I call protocol identity. So I mean that when I'm talking to, supposing in this conference, is different than the way that I talk to my friends, the way that I talk to an Iranian audience, the way that I talk to my family, the way that I talk to my colleagues. So it means that one self is over there. Although I am not essentialist, and I don't believe in essentialism, but still I believe that the self of the self or the genuine self is different. And this genuine self is defined by Irfan poetry. Unfortunately, in English, I have been really somehow struggled how to find a parallel to it. Irfan is thinking in terms of mujarrad, which is not singular. It means that something eternal, infinite, changing, and that is the problem. And that problem is, okay, we have abstraction in English, but we use singularity. Singularity does not represent that. This is one point that we have that. Yet, since Iranian historically have been based on an ancient empire, as you see, since Cyrus the Great to Mossadegh, and even later on during the revolution, although revolution was a kind of fundamentalist, but Khatami or Bazargan tried to have a kind of integrational approach to identity and understand the differences and understand the unity among plurality. By this, so I try to create this concept to primarily avoid any individual identity to be conflict at different dimension or windows of its identity. So anybody has an integral identity, which means one among different. So the genuine oneself, it is defined. I know I'm not essentialist, but this is defined. And you know what you are, and you define momentarily yourself, and you express yourself, this genuine self through different, windows. The second point is that due to this, the Iranian national identity, although have been somehow combined or constituted by many multi-religious and multi-layers of, let's say, ethnicities, gender, but they're very Iranian. Historically, we heard that from Ferdowsi to use the word Iran. And according to him, that I am devoted to Iran. I am devoted to Iran. In case Iran is not there, I wouldn't like to be there. Means that such a dedication. And it goes through all other poetry. The first I would like to say about the ethnic Nizami Ganjavi, who used the same concept, although he was Azeri. And the latest was Shahryar. And even the now current supreme leader of Iran is Azeri. So it means that this concept of patriotism has been over there, but unfortunately did not, let's say, conceptualize. At the beginning, the concept of Shahanshah was the integral point of all this. Shahanshah somehow, let's say, used erroneously in English as kings of the kings. It is not the kings of the kings. It is the model of the model. And in Islam also, it says that it is the best model. Rasul or prophet is your best model. To say all this, I think I try to provide a concept, a conceptual phrase that is based, one, it is integrational, it is one among many, but that oneness is me. So the concept of identity cannot say this. Identity is to show you through something extraneous to you. But this kisti or hoviyate is you, which is best in Persian and Arabic. As I said, historically, when we talk about this, we had from the myths all toward the Islamic Republic. We had this kind of, let's say, identity. In pre-Islamic, the first fundamentalist regime was Sassanid. And over there, we have people who really thought about this, and Sassanid. When Iran was defeated, Iranian nationalism received a renaissance. I say renaissance. It is a different term. And it is not revived as the leaders of Iran now say. It was a renaissance. It was a new term, a new Iranian concept. And so to try to define themselves, and this definition during the Samanis, Alebuyet, and also Safarid was started and interrupted by the Turks and by the Mongols, and later on, unfortunately, to me, by Safavid, although the integral part of Iran was there, but unfortunately under them, that kind of plurality become something non-existent since then through the Qajar. Now, nowadays, although Iran have been under, let's say, 42 years of sanctions, but the Iranianhood is among the Iranians, many different languages. The problem is this, that some people called us Persian during the history. It was our language. It is not our nationality. This is our national language. This national language is not our national identity. It's something different. Philosophically, I try to use a kind of, as I say, integral integrational approach, which means that one genuine among different windows. And epistemologically, I tried to use the postmoderns. I wanted to just show the patriotic sense of a few political leaders of Iran, like Mossadegh, or even after Islamic Republic, Khatami, and very belatedly Rafsanjani, to manifest this kind of, let's say, integrational national identity. But it is not conceptualized, unfortunately, in modern time due to the modernism of Pahlavi or fundamentalism of the regime, current regime. So we had this problem. So what I did, I think that we have gone over the lintel conceptualization of the inscriptive and achievement identity. There is one integrational identity, one among many, so manifested by many. But that oneness, which is genuine, is the self. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.